The galaxy was silent but not empty. Great stars glimmered like scattered jewels across the darkness, and vast planets spun slowly in their orbits. Among them, in the heart of the immortal empire, a civilization older than time itself had grown so powerful that they believed nothing could ever end. Not life, not knowledge, not themselves. They were the Immortals. The Immortals had no fear of death because they did not die. They had lived for centuries, seen countless worlds rise and fall, and learned every secret the stars could offer. Their cities glimmered with eternal light, their towers stretched beyond the clouds, and their minds were sharp, storing knowledge that spanned thousands of generations. Yet despite all this wisdom, there was one thing they could never understand: death. Lauren, a young immortal who had only existed for 200 cycles, a blink of time to her people, stood on the balcony of the high tower. Her eyes followed a distant planet, a world where fragile life scuttled across oceans and forests like shadows. Something about these creatures fascinated her. They were small, fragile, and fleeting, and yet they lived with a strange kind of joy. Lauren had been studying them from afar for decades, observing how they aged, suffered, and, most strangely, how they ended. "Why do they celebrate death?" she asked aloud, her voice carrying over the balcony. Her companion, the elder immortal Severin, turned to her with his usual calm, unreadable expression. "Because it is a part of their nature," Severin said, "but we do not need to understand it. Mortality is weakness. It is irrelevant to us." Lauren shook her head. "I do not think it is weakness. I think it is beautiful." Severin frowned. "You speak as if you were one of them." "You are not. Do not waste your thoughts on their fleeting lives." But Lauren could not stop thinking. Something about the way these creatures grieved, laughed, and remembered the dead stirred a strange feeling in her chest. She could not name it, but she felt it strongly. The moment of her distraction passed abruptly. A bright flash appeared at the edge of their galaxy. A ship, small and unassuming compared to the enormous immortal vessels, moved with speed and purpose. It was human. Lauren's sensors confirmed it. Humans, known in legends but rarely seen. Severin's eyes narrowed. "How did they find us?" "They did not," Lauren said softly. "They came here on their own, I think. They are curious, like I am." The human ship entered the space near the immortal capital. The humans aboard were explorers and diplomats, small beings with short lifespans but immense courage. They had faced dangers that would have terrified other species, yet they traveled boldly into unknown galaxies, seeking knowledge, adventure, and sometimes friendship. The Immortal Council convened immediately. Lauren stood among the elders as they debated what to do with the humans. Most agreed that humans were insignificant, fragile, and a distraction at best. But Lauren argued differently. "They are different," she said. "They understand life in a way we cannot. I want to meet them. I want to learn from them." Severin sighed but allowed it. "Very well. You may observe them. But remember, you are immortal. Do not let their mortality affect you." The humans disembarked onto the immortal city with wide eyes. They marveled at the towers, the floating gardens, and the shimmering streets. They laughed and pointed, curious and unafraid, moving among beings who had existed for centuries. Lauren met them first, stepping quietly from the shadows. "Welcome," she said. Her voice was calm, but inside her heart, something she thought immortals did not have beat fast. The human smiled. One stepped forward, a woman named Mara, and extended her hand. "Thank you. We have heard much about you, but we never thought we would see it ourselves." Lauren hesitated, then touched her fingers to Mara's. In that moment she felt warmth, a sensation she could not explain. The humans did not fear her. They did not treat her as distant or powerful. They treated her as one being to another. Over the next days, Lauren observed them closely. Humans ate meals together, laughed at jokes, argued over small things, and shared stories about people long gone. They spoke of family, friends, and lovers, of victories and failures. And one day, Lauren was invited to witness something that would change her forever. A human elder, a quiet man named Elias, fell ill. It was sudden, but the humans did not panic. They gathered around him, holding his hands, telling stories of his life, and laughing softly at the memories they shared. As his breathing slowed, they did not scream or run. They sat with him, crying quietly, singing softly, and whispering goodbye. Lauren watched from the doorway, frozen. She had never seen anything like it. The humans were not afraid of death. They embraced it. They gave it meaning. They honored the life that had been lived and celebrated the memories left behind. Lauren felt a strange ache in her chest, a longing she could not understand. Severin appeared behind her. "You see, Lauren? Death is chaos. You do not need to be involved." Lauren shook her head. "No, they are not afraid. They are brave. They make it beautiful." The elder passed away. The humans wept, but they did not fall apart. They sang a final song, lifted him gently, and placed him beneath a tree in the garden where flowers would bloom each season in his memory. Lauren felt tears, something she had never experienced, run down her face. Her chest tightened, and she realized she was grieving for someone she had never met before. That night she could not sleep. She walked through the glowing city streets, listening to the quiet hum of life. Her mind was full of the humans' rituals, their laughter, their tears, and the peace they had found in saying goodbye. Severin found her again. "You are disturbed," he said softly. I do not understand it," Lauren admitted. "I do not understand why I feel this. Sorrow, or why it feels good in a strange way." Severin studied her. "Perhaps some lessons are not meant for immortals. But I want to learn," Lauren said. "I want to understand how they can live fully, knowing it all ends. I want to feel what they feel." Severin shook his head but did not stop her. "Very well. Observe, learn, but remember who you are." Days turned into weeks. Lauren spent every moment with the humans, asking questions, listening to stories, and even sharing small pieces of her own experiences, though carefully. She watched them laugh at the simplest joys, a warm meal, a joke, the blooming of a flower. She noticed how they supported one another in hardship, and how they honored life even as it ended. And still she did not fully understand. But she was beginning to. Then one evening the humans prepared for another ceremony. A young human child had passed, taken by illness. The humans gathered in the garden beneath the stars, holding candles, singing softly and sharing stories of the child's life. Lauren stood at the edge of the gathering, unsure if she should approach. But as she listened, she felt something stirring deep inside her, a connection, a warmth, a pain, and yet a joy she could not name. She stepped forward. For the first time, an immortal joined a human ritual, standing among them as they shared memories, laughter, and tears. She whispered words she had never spoken before, not fully understanding their meaning but feeling their power, and in that moment, Lauren knew something fundamental. Immortality was not the absence of loss. It was the absence of understanding it. Humans, with all their fragility, had taught her the first lesson of mortality, to honor what ends and to cherish what lives. Above them, the stars shone brighter than ever. The immortals had seen countless worlds, but never a civilization like this, one that understood the beauty of life because it knew the meaning of goodbye. Lauren turned to the humans around her, her eyes wide with wonder. "I think," she said softly, "we may have much to learn from you." The humans smiled, unaware of the profound effect they had on her. And for the first time in centuries, Lauren felt hope, not for endless years, but for the moments she had yet to experience, moments that would be richer because she had finally begun to understand what it meant to truly say goodbye. The immortal city had never felt so alive. Lauren walked through the streets, her mind swirling with memories of human laughter, tears, and stories. The humans had stayed with them for weeks, sharing their lives, their customs, and their way of facing the inevitable. Lauren felt a pull in her chest, a feeling she had never known, one that humans called sorrow, but mixed with a strange warmth. The immortals watched her closely. Some were curious, others confused, and a few were wary. The council had debated her fascination with humans. Many elders could not understand why she spent so much time among fragile beings who would die long before they could finish a thought. Yet Lauren insisted that there was knowledge here that no immortal book or lecture could provide. Severin remained silent, observing her transformation. He did not yet understand it, but he sensed that something profound was happening. One morning, the immortals gathered for a rare council session. Lauren stood before them, her posture straight, her voice steady. "Elders," she began, "I have observed humans for many cycles. They live knowing that life ends. And yet they do not fear it. They embrace it. They honor the living and the dead alike. I believe we can learn from them." A murmur ran through the council chamber. One elder, tall and stern, spoke first. "Learn? We have lived for millennia. We know the universe. We do not need lessons from creatures who vanish like shadows." "But that is the point," Lauren said. They vanish. And that is why their lives are full of meaning. We immortals never experience an ending. We have never felt the weight of loss, the beauty of farewell. Humans can teach us that. Severin stepped forward. And what exactly do you propose, Lauren? I propose that we join them in their ceremonies. We observe, we participate, and we begin to understand the value of life through the lens of its impermanence. The council was silent. It was unheard of for immortals to participate in mortal rituals. Many were uncomfortable even hearing the word death. Yet Lauren's sincerity, the emotion in her voice, stirred something long dormant in their hearts. After hours of debate, the council reluctantly agreed. The humans were preparing to leave the immortal city, returning to their own small ship to continue their journey. But before they departed, they offered to conduct one more ceremony with the immortals, a farewell to the elder Elias, whose life had ended weeks earlier. Lauren gathered a small group of immortals and followed the humans to a quiet garden beneath the stars. Flowers glimmered softly in the starlight, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of blossoms. The humans began the ritual, speaking the elder's name, sharing stories and singing soft songs. Lauren watched closely, feeling a strange pull in her chest. Then one of the immortals, a being named Varen, whispered, "I do not understand. Why are they crying and smiling at the same time?" Lauren turned to him. "It is because they feel loss, yes, but they also celebrate life. The sadness is real, but so is the love. They are not afraid to feel both." Varen looked uneasy but followed her lead. Slowly he stepped closer, listening to the human songs, hearing their words and seeing the warmth in their eyes. Something inside him shifted, though he did not yet have a name for it. The humans invited Lauren to speak. Her voice trembled at first, but as she shared a memory of Elias, stories of his kindness, his courage, and the small joys he had brought to others, she felt the strange warmth grow. She realized that this act, this speaking of memories and farewells, was a bridge between the living and the dead. It gave the immortals a glimpse of something they had never known: connection. By the end of the ceremony, the immortals felt a new sensation. It was not fear nor sadness alone. It was understanding. It was empathy. And it was profound. The humans, smiling gently, said goodbye and returned to their ship. Lauren and the other immortals watched as they departed, their small vessel disappearing into the stars. But the lessons they had brought lingered. In the following weeks, Lauren worked tirelessly to introduce these human rituals to her people. She began small, gathering immortals who were curious or open-minded, teaching them to speak words of memory, to honor those who had left, and to feel the depth of loss without panic or despair. Some immortals resisted. They saw no purpose in acknowledging endings they would never face. But slowly, one by one, they began to participate. They found that speaking of memories, sharing stories, and even shedding tears brought a new richness to their eternal lives. They began to understand that life was more meaningful when it was acknowledged, when its end was respected. One day, tragedy struck the immortal city in a way it never had before. A rare accident destroyed one of the great towers, taking the life of an immortal named Kyle, a friend of Lauren's. The city was in shock. No immortal had ever truly faced the death of one of their own. Panic and confusion swept through the streets. Lauren gathered the immortals who had learned from the humans. "We must honor him," she said. "We have learned from humans that saying goodbye matters. We cannot pretend he is not gone. We must remember him." The immortals followed her to the garden where they had first witnessed human ceremonies. They stood in silence beneath the stars, unsure of how to begin. Lauren spoke first. She recounted Cale's achievements, his kindness, and his courage. Slowly, others joined in, adding memories, small stories, and shared laughter. Tears flowed freely, something immortals had never experienced. And yet they felt stronger, closer, more alive than ever before. They sang songs not of sorrow alone, but of remembrance, of connection, of life celebrated. They laid flowers, built small memorials, and spoke words that carried Cale's memory into eternity. For the first time, the immortals understood the beauty of mortality. They realized that death was not a curse but a teacher. It gave life meaning. It allowed connection. It inspired love and courage. Lauren stood in the garden looking at the stars, feeling the strange warmth in her chest. She understood now why humans laughed, cried, and celebrated life so fiercely. They had learned to live fully because they knew it would end. The immortal city began to change. Their towers, once cold and silent, now rang with music and laughter. Their streets, once orderly and still, now carried the sounds of conversation, storytelling, and remembrance. Immortals held ceremonies for those they had lost in the distant past, honoring memories they had long ignored. Severin, who had watched all of this with quiet skepticism, finally spoke to Lauren. "I did not understand at first," he admitted. "But now I see, humans. They have given us something we could never achieve alone. They taught us to feel, to honor, to remember. They taught us how to say goodbye." Lauren smiled, tears in her eyes. "Yes. And now even we who will never die can appreciate what it means to live." As the sun rose over the immortal city, the streets glimmered with life. Immortals spoke of loved ones, celebrated moments, and shared stories once forgotten. They still had eternity ahead of them, but now that eternity was richer, fuller, and warmer, they had learned the lessons of mortality from humans, the fragile beings who embraced life in every fleeting second. Lauren looked up at the sky, imagining the humans traveling among the stars. She hoped they knew the gift they had given, not gold, not knowledge, not power, but the understanding of life itself. And for the first time, the immortals did not feel incomplete. They had learned the secret humans had always known, that life is precious because it ends, and saying goodbye is not a loss, it is love made visible. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, filled with infinite worlds and infinite possibilities. And for the immortals, each moment now carried the weight of meaning, the joy of memory, and the courage to feel. They would never forget what the humans had taught them, and their civilization would shine not just with eternal light, but with the warmth of understanding, empathy, and heartfelt connection.